Hey, 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 welcome, welcome. Medford, Oregon. What's going on? I'm Bruce Poppy. My show, Unpopular Viewpoint on Rumble. Try to keep a YouTube channel, but you know how hard that is nowadays. I do have a YouTube channel. It's called Higher Viewpoint. I'm trying to kind of save that spot to try to do more spiritual type stuff. But we're here in Medford, Oregon. It's a beautiful day, beautiful park. Our online audience want to welcome all my friends, family, fellow patriots, and even you trolls, haters, and stalkers. If you guys hang around for a minute, you might learn something. So we're here. The Unity Tour, I think it stopped 19. Um, yeah, 19 or something. We had an interesting evening last night in the rest stop. I won't share that story publicly, but it's rated triple X. Yeah, it was horrific. You think I'm joking? No, it wasn't. Uh, it was horrible. That just showed the world. Our world is the depraved world. The people who aren't connected to our Creator, God, universe, however you want to call it, are sick and twisted and demented. That's what we're fighting against, right? I call them the Luciferian asshats, right? The ruling elite, the globalists, the mainstream media, the people who've had their boot on the neck of humanity for so very long. We're throwing that off right now. This is a divine situation where, I joke around, but it's really true. We're on, like the Blues Brothers, we're on a mission from God, right? We got a full tank of gas, couple packs of cigarettes, whatever. We're going to go save that. That's what the Blues Brothers were about. So we're in Esther. We're on a mission from God on the Unity Tour. This whole thing has been a really divine appointment. How things have come together in a relatively short period of time. And it's kind of divine because 3-4 months before Trump and RFK and Tulsi Gabbard united, and that message from the Trump camp was unity, we were already planning the Unity Tour. So everything is flowing in line. Woo! Get the see, people experience God's presence, the spirit, whatever you want to call it, differently. Lewis gets the truth bumps. My voice gets crackly and my eyes leak. And this awakening is about so much more than an election, right? Or being awakened to the corruption that's going on about us. It's really about awakening us and getting us reconnected, because that's some of the plan of these Luciferian asshats, is to keep us, separate us from our Creator, right? They mess with us, they screw up our bodies, our pituitary gland, and that's kind of the God spark inside us, with the poisons that are in the food, or the stuff they call food that they're wanting us to eat, right? The stuff that they're putting in the air, the stuff that's in the water. All these things it's a plan to cut us off and separate us from the divine. Unity, as I was doing some research, unity, that concept of being united or unity, is a wholly divine concept. I mean, it's all through all religions. Christianity, there's tons of Bible verses about oneness, unity, unifying, all organized religions. I'm not a fan of the religion, any organized religion. That's my viewpoint, unpopular as it might be. That's the name of my show, is Unpopular Viewpoint. Because the 501c3 corporate thing that they call the church, here in America, is probably one of the furthest things from God that I've ever seen. Some of it's intentional, some of it not. They're just going along to get along. Misguided, misinterpretation, just all to keep it to control us, right? That's their ultimate goal, is to control us. And I don't know about you, but I'm done being controlled. I've made that decision already in my mind and in my heart. I'm sovereign. They don't have no jurisdiction over me. I'm walking in my power. I'm as bold as I can be. I try to be as sensitive and empathetic, but my wife will even tell you, before all this stuff, they used to tell me I'm heartless. I don't have no emotions. I didn't care. I didn't give a fork, right? I like to use that Scott McKay Patriot Street Fighter language. You know, we got to take down these freaking ice hole scumbags. Um, but yeah, I mean, but now since this awakening, and I feel more connected to God now than I have in my entire life. This isn't some type of sermon or anything, just telling you my story and how it rolls out. But now I get misty at the drop of a hat. You know, I feel, and then you know when you do start digging and doing the research, and you find out what they're doing to the kids, the children, and I'll continue to say over and over, fear and intimidation to keep us from rising up and redressing our grievances with our government. Now you can't do that. They're criminalizing that. Look at January 6th, right? That was all a big setup, a psyop, to put the fear into patriots and conservatives, whatever. You can't stand up against the government or else we're going to throw you in jail. And there's still many people sitting in jail now without any charges against them, without any due process. So they use that. You know, there's people who are afraid to stand up and be vocal because of the way that the mainstream media and all the crazy leftists want to dox people out them, the social stigma. You know, if you can't, you got to be undercover, you got to be in the closet about it being a Trump supporter. If you mention talk that you're a Trump supporter, you can lose your job. Your kids can get bullied at school. You can be, ostracized and othered, on social media and other things. That's the idea or the thought process that they're wanting to put forward, and it's a psychological operation. They want fear and intimidation. People are afraid to stand up because of whatever potential consequences. What we need to do, what I've done, my own personal self, if you want to join me, fantastic. I'm welcoming everybody to stop giving a fork what people think about me and what I do. Right? I don't care what the people think. Hold on, let me check. Yep. Didn't find any yet. I have zero fucks to give about what people think about me and what I do.
Emergency announcement. Natalie says hello. She loves you. She'll call you back.
All right. Because she's 3 hours ahead of us. She's back to work today. She flew out, was with us for a few days, which was amazing. Kind of breaks up the month. Because just quick little thing about me. My wife and I was 16, she was 17 when we got married. Early August, we celebrated 40 years being married, 4 kids, 7 grandkids. And she, we talk about, you hear that thing, you complete me, that's truth. Yin and yang. I don't do well physically. I can get physically ill and upset, and my body just goes crazy when we're separated for a long period of time. So it was nice to have her come out, and it wasn't a full 30, 40 days that we're apart. We split it up. So I think I can make it another couple of weeks till we get to Tampa back home for our grand finale event. But she went home. I tried to call her to tell her about the attack that I received last night. It was horrific. The kid, here's the thing, it correlates to what we're doing. Once you see something, once you're aware of something, once you get that visual, you can't unsee it. So I'm battling my mind, so using all my mindset tools to try to push back that image out of my mind from last night. It was horrible. Anyway, where was I? But yeah, that fear. People are afraid to act out of fear. So there is nothing bad's going to happen. We see that we have to live in the now, right? We only have right now. The past doesn't matter. I always say on my show, today is the first day of the rest of your life. It doesn't matter what happened yesterday. You could have been an idiot, loser, doing all kinds of bad stuff. You can change today. Don't worry. I saw a TikTok video, and the guy put out this word, and I love it, about worrying about the future. We get anxiety. He says we catastrophize. We worry about the catastrophes that might happen in the future, and that puts some fear and causes us to not move in an action. But that doesn't matter. Most of the time, almost all the time, that fear that we're having about catastrophizing about something that might happen, anxiety in the future, it never happens. So we just waste time. We waste energy worrying about shit that we don't have control over. Number one, worrying about stuff that probably will never happen. Worrying about, what, as an example, who here is prepared mentally for in 20, there's a high probability, there is a very high probability that they're going to pull a steal again. There's way too many eyes watching right now, and what ends up happening after that happens, I don't know. My intuition tells me it's going to be bad one way or the other. So we got to be prepared. We have to get ready for these eventualities, but you can't dwell on it, right? I'm prepared. I'm prepared for the worst, praying and hoping for the best, but I'm ready for whatever happens, right? We should be taking care. I don't know what's going to happen, but I got in my RV, I got a year's worth of the MRE foods. I got a year's worth of food in my RV. I got all kinds of lead, freedom seeds. Every month I buy silver and lead, whether I need it or not. And speaking of silver, it's a very good segue to talk about our sponsor. Little commercial here. Verity Metals. I mean, how many people here have bought silver in the past couple, 3 years? Silver, gold, precious metals. There's tons of companies out there. There's some that are better than others. I don't know all of them. There's a handful that I would probably do business with, but one of them is Matt Geiger with Verity Metals. He is very authentic. Lewis found him, and we met and talked, and he's the real deal. He cares. He even, he's sponsoring us, helping us with the gas and the graphics and all the thing, but he's not looking for a return on his investment. He just wants to support, right? So if you're looking, or if you're considering, doing some type of, transfer thing, with 401k, IRA, all the different type of stuff that's way above my pay grade, Matt's the guy to call. Go get a hold of. He'll talk to you. He'll tell you if he can help you. He'll tell you. If he can't, if there's something that's going to be better for you than what he can provide, he's going to point you to somewhere else. So that's, one of the great things. It's not all about the money for him and making to support. He's part of the movement. And it's funny, he was, I don't know if you watched any of the past tour stops that we've had. He spoke at a few of them, Vegas and Phoenix, and it was fun because he joked every time he'd come and talk, he would end with Michelle Obama is the man, and he would walk away. So he's a fantastic guy. VerityMetals.com. VerityMetals.com. Go check out Matt Geiger. Just give him a call. Do your own research, right? If it works for you, great. If not, that's fine too. So yeah, we gotta prepare. As getting back in, prepare, get ready for any potential eventuality. I'm not a guy that's all fear porn. I don't worry about it. But hey, if there's something that might come, I'm going to do a couple of things today to prepare myself so I don't find myself in a world of hurt. It's just a little bit of foresight, a little bit of looking ahead, but it doesn't bother me. I don't care what ends up happening. If they end up installing camel toe and tampon Tim, well, it'll get straightened out one way or another. Because I know God always wins. Light always overcomes darkness, right? Nothing can stop what is coming. And that's why we do the unity tour, going around here trying to muster the troops, get more people involved. We're not just coming here and tell you, hey, you need to do something and then leave. We got tools. Lewis has put together tons of tools and information and things that we can use to be able to take action in your local community. Because Lewis always says the micro fixes the macro. General Flynn, like him, love him, or hate him, local action has national impact, right? The Trump, the White Hats, and the military are doing what they can do behind the scenes, legally and lawfully, but Trump, the White Hats, the Alliance, the military is not going to come into Medford, Oregon, and go, tell a school board that they need to take the pornographic stuff out of the library, or stop the transgender reading hour at the library, or your city council, from spending all kinds of crazy money on DEI, type of programs. We're the ones that have to do that. We have, that's been the part of the problem, like I said earlier, is we have outsourced our own self-governance. For so long, we've been led to believe, lied to, program, MK Ultra, brainwash, whatever you want to call it, to believe that the people that we voted for to represent us in this government have our best interests at heart. They don't. They don't. They're all about themselves. They're all about the money. They're controllers. They're either blackmailed, compromised some way or another. Most of them, Republicans, Democrats, all politicians are criminals. They're all criminals. They're all scumbags. They all need to go. Our current system or form of government. Hey, how's it going? Come on through. Break on through to the other side. And then she's got one of Tenor's shirts on. Jesus and justice for all. Yeah, that's Tenor. Normally we're in a park here. Normally we kind of start out before we go live online showing Tenor's new song. I don't know if you've seen it yet or not. Thank you for coming. It's a huge, crazy, uplifting song about having an attitude of gratitude. So hopefully he's going to hook up with us as we get further on the East Coast, and we can reunite Esther with the Mystery Machine. I don't know if you know Tenor and seen his Mystery Machine, his RV. That's all painted up like the Mystery Machine from Scooby-Doo. But in there is stuff about Trump, JFK. How much collateral damage is acceptable until we can turn this thing around and start moving to rebuild what has been demonized and bastardized. So trust requires proof. The last one, sorry requires change. So love requires action, trust requires proof, sorry requires change. If you got somebody in your life, a relationship, whatever, somebody's continuing, oh, I'm sorry, oh, sorry, and they continue to do the same shit over and over and over again, they're not sorry. And you should probably remove that toxic person out of your life, right? So love requires proof, or love requires action, trust requires proof, and sorry requires change. Those are 3 simple rules to live by, and I endeavor every single day. Sometimes it's a battle minute by minute. The battles that happen inside our head, we're our own worst enemies, right? We beat ourselves up all the time. The lies from the devil get, rooted in there, and it's a battle on a minute by. It's way super easier to say than it is to do. But if we put ourselves on a path of trying to strengthen our minds, our bodies, and our spirits, we got this. God never loses. Like I said, light always overcomes darkness. Darkness has not beaten light yet. Once light shows up, darkness is gone. So we need to be the light, right? Because brother over here is getting some vitamin D, a little sunshine going on there. So yeah, we need to do more. So Andrew is the newest member of our team. Joined us just before Tampa. Anybody knows Kevin, the buzzer guy? He was going to be, the third as we travel, but he ended up having to have surgery beginning of August, and it just was not conducive for him to be out on the road. So Andrew stepped up. Terrific guy. Met him a little over a year ago on Truth Tour 2 in Fort Lauderdale, but he's got great information. He's our prayer warrior. And so Andrew, take it away.
Thanks, Bruce. Thank you. Wow, it's great to be here. I'm going to just start with a real quick prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you for this beautiful day. Thank you for bringing us all to this place in this moment. Thank you for preserving us a nation by your divine providence. Thank you for sending all of your angels to intervene on our behalf and help fight some of these battles for us. Thank you that we set aside our pride and our ego, that we forget about the things that divide us or that we could argue about, and we come together on the things that we can agree about. Most importantly, protecting the innocent children of our nation and around the world. Help us to be mindful of what is the highest priority, and that we are each sacred beings. Help us to walk together and to unite and to grow stronger. Help us to realize that there are thousands, even millions of people around the country and around the world that are in this movement, and help us to be more effective in shining the light and walking in the truth according to your will and according to the word, in the mighty and powerful name of Christ Jesus. Amen. So I'm the least famous person on the tour. And that's because on day one, I thought it'd be, well, okay, 7 months into it, I thought it'd be a really good idea to team up with the Google whistleblower and go right after Google. So Zach Voorhees, the Google whistleblower, found the blacklist file, and he found everything that is being hidden on every Google platform. And so I served 8 years in the military, and I just wanted to live a quiet life. I got an honorable discharge, and I'm like, okay, good. I completed my 9 months in Afghanistan. I completed my 8-year enlistment in the reserves, and I just wanted to live a quiet life. But when, as a rideshare driver in South Florida, all of a sudden all the rides were turned off because some organization on the other side of the planet said, hey, it's probably not safe to gather. And it's like, well, I kind of like living dangerously. That's kind of why I signed up for the military. You know, it's like, I wear a seatbelt when I drive, but other than that, you know, it's like I hope to get up the nerve to ride a motorcycle someday, but I've had one of those electric powered bikes. So in any case, do we want to live with a certain sense of danger, or do we want to live in a bubble world or a cubicle style world? And so, you know, it's just amazing the going on this journey and meeting people from all around the country. And so many people could argue about what's the best food or what's the best movie or what's the best sports team, you know, and all that scatters us in 30 different directions. But if we all came together that we want to be able to use our gifts and talents in our community, we want to be able to get married and raise children and see them prosper and be able to be successful. And then the next generation after that, you know, and so that obviously brings us into unity. You know, so once I started working with whistleblowers, truthers, and investigative journalists, it was amazing. Like all of a sudden on Facebook, I got 0 likes on any post for like months. On Twitter, I got 0 likes on almost every post for like months. So I go by all 3 names, Andrew Charles Evance. You won't find me on Facebook anymore because one of my 10,000 posts got me out the door. And then, you know, so you will find me on Twitter, Andrew Charles Evance. And so, but, you know, one thing that's interesting is like, for example, I'm not doing this to make my name. You know, I'm doing this because I love God and I love others. And I got to see the innocent, smallest child in Afghanistan, and it was a life-changing experience. This little tiny girl reached out and touched my hand across the barbed wire, and a shockwave of innocence went up and smashed my heart. I have never been the same since. I took a day or 2 to meditate and pray on it, and God told me, that's how innocent I see you. I was like, wow, with all the things I've done in my life. But we are all that innocent child. We all have grown up in a war zone. There is good and there is evil. We have all been affected by that, maybe not equally, but we all have our own traumas. We all have our own things that have hurt us. And so, you know, and in this movement, there are some very famous people. And I've gotten to meet some of those very famous people. But this movement is a relay race. It's a team event. It's a we the people. And so if one person, if we're waiting for the William Wallace to go charging up the hill, you know, if we're waiting for the one patriot to, you know, that was just a fire starter. that first person that said, I'm going to transfer the power from to, well, we are the people right here, right? So the most important room is this person, 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 this person. You're all the most important person in this space, because the battle's won on the front lines. It's not the battle's not won at the headquarters. The decisions are made at the headquarters. When I was in Afghanistan, we went out to the front lines. There was no base there. And guess what? As a CB, we did heavy equipment operation, we did construction. 30 days later, there was a base there. So if we go town by town, and let's say, you know, if one of you were to go to the county commissioners or the PTA or the board, you know, if one of you go, it's good, but we may be like a bug on the windshield of a car that's going 55 miles an hour. But then if we get 4 people lined up on the same topic, Now all of a sudden it's like they're either hitting a speed bump or one of those giant animals. I mean, it's gonna get their attention a little bit more. But if we had 500 people show up, then all of a sudden they're gonna be like, maybe you want to stop and reconsider our position. So the power is in unity. And so when I went to an event in Fort Lauderdale, I got Poppy's number. I got Alan Fountain's number. I've been getting numbers at all these different events, and it's like, I can't force you to get the number of the person next to you. I can encourage you to, and I'll pass out my phone number. Anybody wants my phone number, I'll gladly give it out. Call me at 3 a.m. I'll talk you through whatever you're going through and try to encourage you or give you a contact or a resource that might be able to help you. But I'm also only one person. But in this movement, now as we go around the country, we are linking together thousands and thousands of people. Online, we have thousands and thousands of people watching. And it's funny because, it's like, well, if we were to have our, because obviously people have different work schedules, so not everybody can be here in the morning on a weekday because some people are actually trying to put out bread on their table. But if we had all the audience that sees this, we would need a basketball arena. Now, it'd be fun to do it in a basketball arena, but it doesn't matter the size. It matters the intensity. So most people don't realize in the military that most of the work is done by a few people on the front lines, but then behind them is a team of 10 or 100 or 1,000, all the people involved with logistics and supply. So this is either a group of followers or this is a meeting of leaders. You get to choose. I see a meeting of leaders. I see brave people that care enough about their country that they're willing to get up and do something about it. So we're going to shift from being followers to being leaders. And so it's just a simple decision. And so obviously I see what Bruce has done. I've seen what Lewis has done. They've been an example for me. And so, like most people don't realize, I told a funny story to Lewis. At a football game, who's the most important person? At a football game, who's the most important person? I know not everybody likes football, but at the football game, who's the most important person? Shout out any answer. Any answer is a good answer. We got quarterback, referee. Go ahead, keep coming. Coach, keep coming. Fans, team, the receivers. Okay, so let me make a suggestion. The ball boy. If somebody were to kidnap the ball boy and smuggle all the footballs, could you imagine at the biggest football game of the year, if all of a sudden they're like, we're going to have to go to commercial because our bag of 24 footballs has disappeared, so we're going to have to go to the local sports store and grab a whole nother case or pallet of footballs. So I just wanted to shift our mind from, okay, there's all the famous people out there in this movement, but every single one of you is incredibly important. And whether you add one piece of the puzzle or 500 pieces of the puzzle, so when we were divided, they didn't want us to talk to one another. They didn't want us to solve anything. So going back to Google, if they're putting out 4 + 5 = 10, 5 + 4 = 10, well, why are we fighting? We both have bad math, and we're going to prove our point on bad math. Now, if we're in the truth, 5 + 5 = 10, 6 + 4, 7 + 3, 8 + 2, 9 + 1, 10 + 0. There's a lot of different ways to arrive at the truth, right? And then if we're on the truth, we're unshakable. And if we're locked together, like I not on this trip, but a previous trip, we went through the tall trees. And I'm talking like the 200 to 400 foot tall trees. Now, somebody told me that they lock together in the roots, that they have such strong community that they've been able to withstand for hundreds of years. So if everybody in this space locks together, could we make it through the next year, whatever may come? If we lock together, could we overcome whatever it is that, in the war, you always have a battle buddy and you always look out for one another. So if you have 2 people here and 2 people here, and then you got 4, now you have a fire team. So it is most important that you find who's going to be your wingman, your battle buddy, your your brother in arms or your sister in arms. And then, okay, so 2 plus 2, let's get 4. Let's get a fire team, of names and numbers of people that if the stuff hits the fan. The other thing I'll leave with this is keep in mind the most important person in this movement or in this next 3 months, 6 months, whatever we're going to go through. Nobody's been through this before, but the most important person is the person closest to us. And so we may have a massive divide, but one act of kindness, one act of humility, one act of consideration, how are you really doing? I know that we don't agree on everything, but can we get together and have a barbecue or something to eat or a cup of coffee? And so if we lower our ego, other people can do the same. So we are going to live like kings and queens. There's a reason why we don't have a king in our country, because we follow the King of Kings, and we are all called to a high position. But as we walk it out by serving one another and lifting each other up. Now, if we look at the elites and the deep states, they'll just step on everybody else. We're insignificant. We don't matter. But guess what? Our DNA is unique. Our fingerprint is unique. Our heartbeat is unique. Our gifts are unique. There is nobody else that can do what it is that you're best at. And, obviously in school, they told me that I could do one thing real well and get a job and be somebody else's minion. But my faith tells me I can do all things well. So in this tour, Lewis is wearing 7 different hats. Poppy's wearing 3 different hats. I'm wearing 3 different hats. And so, but we're a team and we're a family. And when we realize that we're a family in the spirit, we're a soul family, and we're a family in the sense that we care about the next generation having a better life. So keep going. Oh, wow. So Lewis has approved me. It's like when you're given an opportunity to speak. So I've got 45 years worth of experience in life. I don't know everything, so I'm not an expert on everything, but I have done 4 years worth of research. I've served in the military for 8 years. I was a travel agent for 3 years. I worked in the auto industry. I've driven darn near every kind of vehicle that you can imagine. I've not flown a plane yet. Maybe I can check that off at some point. But, as far as like the truther movement, I've been working with whistleblowers, truthers, and investigative journalists. So one of my favorite questions is, where is the pain? What is the hot topic? What's the most current news? Or what are you trying to figure out? Because try me, I've had, being that I was so censored on social media, I've had about 5,000 face-to-face conversations with people. So is there any hot topic or anything that makes you ask a question, or anything that you wish to discuss? I get paid per question. I get $1/4 per every question I answer. Go ahead.
Okay, so I have read that the entire world, every government on earth was taken over by this elite globalist cabal.
Okay.
And that the White Hats have known about this for at least 60 years.
Okay.
And that when JFK was supposedly assassinated, that this plan was begun by these 200 generals. And now there's a lot more, I'm not sure if there were 200 then.
Okay.
And that, so they have been working behind the scenes, and it went in, kicked into high gear in 2017.
Sure.
And that they have dismantled all these illegal guns.
Okay. So
And still commander-in-chief.
and what do you want to know specifically?
So everyone I tell this to almost says that is nuts.
Okay, so I'm gonna for our audience that's watching live. So the question is about the going back 60 years, the world governments, the cabal, the JFK, the Patriots, the 200 admirals and generals. I'll tell you one thing, that there's no way that either side is sitting this one out. Obviously there's the depopulation movement that goes back to the 1930s. And so Henry Kissinger was all excited because they got Europe to 0 population growth in the 70s. And so, if we look at JFK, it's like, okay, he was coming forth with certain things and they had to put a stop to him. And then we get Lyndon B. Johnson. And so one thing that was happening in Detroit is Detroit was super prosperous. And then, you know, you could have people from all different walks of life working together to build a car in an assembly line, and they were getting a lot done. And it was bad for Europe and it was bad for Asia, for America to be super successful. So, so that's a whole nother story as far as how Detroit was dismantled. And so we see the movement of a globalist leader versus the movement of a America's first leader. Going back to this whole plan, the military constantly thinks about multiple scenarios, but they don't think like we think. They begin with the end in mind. So they're like, we need to be at this point, accomplishing this mission, accomplishing this, and how do we do it with the least casualties possible or with the least resources necessary? You know, how can we be most efficient and most effective? So, you know, for the people that think that there's nothing going on, oh, I can guarantee you there's a lot going on. I had one of my Coast Guard buddies, this guy is retired. I mean, he's medically retired, he is done. And then all the people that know him, we were completely shocked because he got a big giant packet that he wasn't allowed to open until he got to a military base. And so he's going from that military base, and then they fly him to an island in the Pacific and an island in the Caribbean and an island in a state that's way up north. So as far as it goes, there is absolutely, if you want to go to Monkey Works on YouTube, that guy does a great show every 24 to 48 hours, and he's going to explain it in width and depth. And so I'm a big fan of his work. You know, as far as if things are going on, and it's like, most people don't realize if the military was doing something, wouldn't they use stealth? Like, guess what? If you're using stealth, and the bad guys don't know that you just took out, let's say you take out 2 guys over here and 2 guys over there. You know, they're, you know, like, it's interesting because there's times that they have embedded reports, right? Like they have an embedded reporter. Well, guess what? That's for propaganda. That's for more war. If you have people trying to make peace, there's no money in peace. There's lots of money in war. So if we're trying to have peace, all the main media outlets, they're not going to want to comply with that because they want more war, because, you know, everything that causes fear makes money, or everything that says, oh, for a limited time only or a limited supply, they use fear and scarcity, right? So if we're using peace, truth, and prosperity, so going back, you know, I can't convince you of everything that I see, but I do speak military, and I can guarantee you there is more that has happened in the last few years. But the whole millions and millions of people. And so guess what? Who did they want to keep? They were using all the technology in the world, you know, the elites, they were using all the technology in the world to see, when we were doing one of these and we were covering up our face, they could use facial recognition to see whether or not that we were playing the game. So guess what? You're either a green light or a red light. If you're playing the game, they may keep you. If you're not playing the game, they're not going to keep you. So being that we've made it through, like, we're in 2024. We were supposed to be in a 7-year lockdown. How long did the lockdowns last? Maybe like anywhere from days to months. A couple of states said, hey, we're not going to play. I believe North Dakota was one of them. But then South Florida was one of the first ones to reopen. It was really interesting talking to people from all around the country, and even 20 different countries around the world. And there were brave people that wanted to go out and celebrate and relax and vacation and party. So it really is a battlefield of the mind. And if we are, you know, yes, there is 2 sides. There is light and dark, and there are things going on. If you open up your mind, you'll start seeing things like, are you looking for the needle in the haystack, or are you looking for the haystack? If you're a farmer that has animals, you're looking for the haystack. If you're a sewer that is a tailor, you're going to look for the needle. But guess what? There's a needle and a haystack. But if you're only looking for one thing, you know, if you open your mind to the possibilities, you'll start seeing more and more. So if you see a black helicopter flying over, if you see a big plane, if you start going out to, you know, listening to Michael Jaco, or listening to Monkey Works, or listening to the people that do have the expertise in that topic, they're going to start telling you certain things. Now, like, you take everything with a grain of salt because, for example, I've always told people, if I get any of this right, then you'll know that I've done my homework well, but I don't expect anybody to believe me. Everybody needs to do their own homework, ask their own questions. Most importantly, get the contact information of people that you can partner with so you can get your battle buddy, you can build up your fire team, you can have community, because where two or more are gathered, the Lord is with us. So I'm going to turn it back over. Thank you very much for welcoming to me, your community, and thank you for welcoming us into your family.
Excellent. All right. Got me. So yeah, we're moving right along. As he was talking, I saw this gentleman walk up, tall guy, big cowboy hat. I said, "Fuck, Derek Johnson's here." No, it's not. But it ended up being pretty cool because we're going to bring him up right now. He is a local guy here in Medford, Logan Vaughn, who is running for mayor. And he's got quite a little story, just a couple minutes that he was sharing over there, how he's experienced some corruption right here in Medford. So we're going to allow Logan Vaughn to come up here and share a little bit of his story. Local guy right here from Medford, running for mayor, and see if he can sell us on why we should vote for him.
Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you, guys.
Can you clip this up on you?
Well, first of all, thank you all for being here. Who here lives in Medford? Okay, who knows somebody who lives in Medford? There we go. Okay, what we have here, this is not, like I've heard said, this is not a battle of flesh and blood, but of principalities and powers and rulers of darkness. It is a very real thing in this county. I was actually just speaking with our Sheriff Nathan Sickler about 2 weeks ago. I said, Nathan, are you aware? Rather than, his answer back was very simple, Logan, it's everywhere. Not going to dispute, not going to excuse it, not going to try to deny it. It is what it is. The bottom line is, if we can't take our own community back and our own valley back, what chance do we have at a state level or a national level? I was running for Jackson County Commissioner in the primary. I was running, a lot of you guys may know the name Randy Sparacino. All I will say to that is beware of wolves in sheep's clothing. Within 3 hours, he's a former chief of police. Within 3 hours of me turning in my application to run for Jackson County Commissioner, guess where I was? Does anybody want to take a guess? Jail, that's correct. And they actually used the church, just like in the days of our Lord, the Pharisees and the Sadducees of his day, they're still here today. No weapon formed by the enemy will prosper in the name of Yeshua Mashiach, the Lamb of God. If he is for us, if God is for us, there is no man that can be against us. We need to trust the Lord. Trump is my president. Jesus is my Savior. We cannot have true reform or a true turning back of the Constitution and one nation under God like this nation was founded on without that. I thank you guys for your time. I want to let you know I will be in the voters pamphlet. You can see what I stand for. I stand for the Word of God and the Constitution. If you don't like that, sorry, not sorry. It is what it is. I can't be bought. And that's the biggest thing with the majority of the politicians around here. The mayor that they have selected already for Medford, his name is Michael Zarazinski. I encourage you to go look at his tax records because he doesn't even lie on them. He's been paid by members of the Jackson County and the elites, for lack of a better term, since 2020. He puts it right on his tax statements. There's no shame in his game. So do your research. And also a big other thing is when you're looking at your voters pamphlet, if it says they're endorsed by the same old, bing, let the light bulb go off in your head. It's literally, the corruption is everywhere, and they're just hiring their replacements. This valley is not controlled by Colleen Roberts, Rick Dyer, and Dave Daughter, which will now be Randy Sparacino will be taken. He's been selected. It's run by last names like DeBoer, Mahar, Snyder, and they tell these men and women what to do. And the bottom line is we need a candidate that can't be bought. And I can't be bought because I've already been bought by the blood of the Lamb and the word of his testimony. If he is for us, there is no one that can be against us. So I encourage you, do your due diligence and know who you're voting for. Vote, get your friends to vote. Thank you guys for being here, and God bless you.
All right. Thank you, Logan.
Take that out.
That one thing he said really I want to highlight when he was talking to the sheriff, and he said, do you know about all this corruption? And the sheriff said, yeah, it's everywhere. This means like he's given up. It's not worth fighting. We just have to deal with it. It is what it is. Is that our new normal? That we have to deal with this stuff? I, for one, say no. So I applaud Logan for standing up and doing what he did. And so yeah, do your research, find out who you're voting for. That's key, and that's one of the cool things about. If I mentioned about the GOP before, if you're involved in your local GOP, I mean, I hate all the labels anyway, but if you're involved with your local GOP, you can have some more intimate access to the candidates to be able to interrogate them, and don't be afraid to ask them the hard questions and see how they react. See the watch of their eyes. You can, if you get close to somebody, when you touch their energy, you can feel sometimes the evil on people, right? That's why I say the number one connection that we need to have to get through this thing is getting connected to our Creator, because that's the ultimate source of truth. That's where you develop that intuition. I call it my bullshit detector. That I can meet people and it starts going. You kind of know. So just to show, normally we did, because we've been traveling, came right off the road, but we have these. We talk about the Q. Trust the plan. Trust the plan. We the people are the plan. So Lewis had this, had these shirts made up. So it's super important. He'll share his story. And also, we're going to bring him up here in a second. So if you're doing a little Q&A, so if you have any questions for Lewis, start thinking about those. But he'll share the story. When he was wearing this shirt on his way to Tampa for us to leave, he'll lay over in Dallas, and he was mobbed at the airport. 6 people kind of surrounded him, were having conversation, or he almost missed his plane because I like that shirt and it's a great idea. They start having conversation. So you can wear a message on your shirt, and it can be a conversation starter. I used to wear that everywhere, and there's a lot of people give you a thumbs up, and you can tell. The other ones, the negative ones really wouldn't come at me, but you can tell. You get the stink eye. And we saw that when we've been driving into town. I mean, here in Medford, we got more stink eye, and people laughing, chuckling it off when they see the RV. So we confront them, if they want to have a conversation. So if you're not for these 4 pillars, you can't get behind New World Control. You can't get behind illegal, stopping illegal immigration. If you're not for you're against us, right? So those who are for, you can't be on both sides, right? We have to pick a side. So I encourage everybody, after we're done here, we're getting ready to wrap it up because we got to hit the road. We got 3.5 hours to Bend, Oregon this evening for that event. Or Oregon. Oregon. Yeah, no. Please, no. No, it's funny how sensitive the Oregonians are when you mispronounce or a certain thing, man. They want to crucify you. It's crazy. So yeah, I apologize. So I won't say the state. I'll just say we're in Medford. Did I say that right? Bend, OR. Not get myself in trouble. But yeah, we can check these out. These help put some gas in the tank, and also you can visit if you're watching online. It's a steady flow, but it helps put gas in there and get us along the way. So if you can donate there, unitytour.us, so donate button. And then 2 quick events I'm going to promote: our grand finale in Tampa, October 5th. If anybody can get there, if you're online or anybody here, get to Tampa. It's going to be epic. We got over 20 speakers. It's going to be an all-day speaking event. It's free, all-day event, 20 different speakers, some really large names. that you've probably seen on online. And then afterwards, we're gonna have a huge after party with bands, music, food. We maybe do some karaoke. Ethan Lucas's band, I believe, Celebrity Saints is going to be there. So there will be a small charge for the after party to help pay for the bands and the food and stuff. But the event during the day, like we have all these, they're all free. So that's October 5th in Tampa. And then September 29th, we've adjusted some things. We made a change. We were going to be partnering up with Take Our Borders Back people with an event in Youngstown, or is it Yorktown? Youngstown? Somewhere in New York? Somewhere in New York, but we shifted it. We're going to DC. We're going into the belly of the beast on September 29th to join forces with Take Our Border Back and Restored Republic. Is that the name of the RFK Jr. is going to be there, Tulsi Gabbard, bunches of other people, and some special, somebody else might show up. Can neither confirm or deny any of those statements. But that we're going to be there. We want all the Screw Big Gov family, anybody patriot wants to come, get us all together. We're going to be the loudest, most boisterous ones. Our chant, because everybody, chants in these big crowds. There's probably going to be 100,000 people there. But our chant is going to be, we the people are the plan. We the people are the plan. So we're going to be loud and boisterous, and we're going to get some attention there. Last time I was in D.C. was January 6th, 2021. And it wasn't like they say it was. Let's leave it right there. So let's bring up Mr. Lewis Herms. He's the brainchild behind Screw Big Gov, UnityTour.us, RememberYourOath.com, FreedomInAction.net that we'll talk about here before we end up. So many other things, over 20 movies, documentaries, things. Him and his wife have poured their entire lives into We the People. They have given up, lost millions of dollars, really, in stuff for trying to save our republic, to get us, we the people, an opportunity, a chance, and tools that we can take our country back, take our republic back, live in freedom, maintain our sovereignty, and not be under the thumb or have the boot on our neck from these ruling elites. So please help me welcome Mr. Lewis Herms.
Appreciate you. All righty then. Well, it's absolutely gorgeous here. Is this gorgeous for you? Is this? Some are saying no, some are saying yes, right? I mean, it's not Southern California, but I love this. I just absolutely love this. I'm all right with it being a little chilly in the morning. Haven't we had, I heard you had some hot spells though for a little while, right? A lot of smoke, yeah. Unfortunately, but that's everywhere. It seems like they're just burning down the West Coast, right? Really? Yeah. Well, it was meant to be. We're glad to have you here.
It didn't used to be like that. No.
Like what? Fires all the time, right?
Fires every summer.
Yeah. So y'all are probably pretty familiar with why there's so many fires on the West Coast is because they don't do the fire control that they used to do. And then you can add in weather manipulation. Oh, did I say that? Should I have my tinfoil hat? Isn't it? I don't have my tinfoil hat with me. It doesn't travel well, actually. Although Bruce has one that was made for us a long time. Actually, it was made for Derek Johnson, right? And he left it in our RV. So, anyways, there's some good news though if we look at it. 2 years ago, you could talk to a normie and say the word chemtrails, and they would say you're a conspiracy theorist, right? Now in Tennessee and now going into Texas, they're passing laws outlining chemtrails. 2 years, that's common knowledge, right? So things are flipping in our direction. It may not feel like it, especially if we're dealing with corruption locally. And that's actually why we're traveling the country, is so people understand that the micro fixes the macro. And what we tend to do is we tend to focus on that big, large picture. And the reality is we forget about what's really going on at home. And what's really going on at home will take care of what's going on nationally, right? So We have to get our house in order, wherever your house is, first. And when your house is in order, then you have to work on getting your neighborhood in order. And when your neighborhood is starting to get in order, you work on your town and your city and the county, which matriculates into the state. What we see on the federal level, by the way, is a complete illusion. It's not even built the way it's supposed to build. And I love using this. I date back. If you go back to the founding fathers, 1776, the way the office of the president of the United States was formed was very interesting. The president was supposed to do just a few things. Would have a State of the Union speech. If there was an emergency, a national emergency, he can be involved in that. That's about it, though. That's about it. You barely ever hear from the president. You're never were supposed to hear from the president. He's more like an overseer, just to make sure certain emergency things were done right. But what happens now is the only talk that we hear is from the White House. Real or fake? Fake. Yes, of course. But the only talk we hear is from the White House. The only talk we've heard since the 60s are from the White House, right? That's the construct that they put us in, that we are manipulated through the illusion that the president holds all the power, right? Well, does that sound like a constitutional republic to you? That sounds more like a dictatorship, right? So they've manipulated us and brainwashed to think that he's the most important guy that's out there. After a president takes care of his business, I think he'll be the first to tell you he's the least important guy out there. So what happened on January 20th, 2017? President Trump had a military contingent behind him on his inauguration day. Do you remember that? And what did he say when the military contingent? He said, "We have given it back to the people." So is there still more work to be done? Oh, yeah, there's a heck of a lot of work to be done. But what the work that we have to do from now until we get to where we want to get may sound really interesting. We are demolition experts. We are having to tear down all the pillars of government. We have to tear down all the pillars of corporations. We have to tear down all the pillars of the cabal agricultural system and the big pharma system. This is what our job is now. Our job is not to rebuild yet. Our job is we have to pull these all down and then rebuild a foundation and build them the way God has intended it to be built, which I would suggest is probably 5 to 10% of what we see right now. So how do we do that? Well, the first thing we do is we have to get the word out, constantly get the word out. And you think you're pushing hard, we all do. I would suggest push just a little bit harder, because it's all up to we the people. It is all up to we the people. And until we understand that we hold all the power, we will fail. Because we cannot cower in the face of the control mechanism that we deal with. What would that control mechanism look like? Sometimes it's a police officer. Sometimes it's a sheriff. It's virtually always a political apparatus, right? And believe it or not, your biggest control operation are the corporations, the large corporations. And I'll tell you why. So the CDC and the WHO said we needed to wear masks. Remember that? Right. By the way, it should have just dropped there. Just ignore them. They have nothing to do. You have an NGO, and then you have another organization that's outside the country. Why on earth would we even listen to them? Constitutionally, we don't have to pay attention to them at all. But what happened? Then the Biden administration said, this is what we should mandate. That was a dog whistle. There was no mandate there. There was literally no law written. There was no regulation written whatsoever. That was a dog whistle to the Fortune 1000 corporations. So notice at the same time, the Fortune 1000, the intent was there because they understood that the small businesses, we the people businesses, were not going to enforce their mandates. What were their mandates? Stay 6 feet apart. Why would they do that? Because we resonate within 3 feet of each other. We have a spiritual connection just by, this is why in the Bible it tells you to get close, get more than 2, right? 2 or more, I mean. because when we get closer, we have a beautiful connection that goes with each other. So stay 6 feet apart. That's what they wanted. Wear a mask. Why? Because when you communicate with your face and your expressions. But if you put a mask over there, you're not quite sure where somebody's coming from. All of this was intentional. So why did we comply? Not all of us. I mean, we have the leaders right here, so you didn't comply. But why did they comply? Because somebody told them to. And when a corporation said, "Oh, you have to wear a mask or you can't come in," they're like, "Okay, well, I got to get my groceries," right? And here we go, wearing a mask when we went in there. I can guarantee you, if just 10% of the people refused, it would have been over immediately. Because we're talking about bullies, and bullies are, understand we hold all the power. When you step up to a bully, and I'm only saying this from experience, so I'll tell you my personal story. I got my ass kicked every day from probably about 6 to 7 till I was 11 years old, until I decided to fight back. And then when I was 10 and 11, there was these 3 or 4 teenagers that would just beat the shit out of me every single day. One of the reasons why is because when I played sports against them, even though I was 11, they were 13 or 14, I would wipe the floor with them. So what they would do is they would just beat me up every day because that made them feel better about themselves. They were cowardly. Say, "Oh, and they are tough, they're tough guys," and da-da-da-da-da. Cowardly. And then I took a baseball bat to them when I was 11, and that was the end of that, right? Because they never, and they were in a group. They never want to fight again. So I got that mentality growing up, and throughout high school, I was called the bully buster. So I would search out the bullies, and I would beat the shit out of them, even though I was smaller. Because what I found out is not that I was stronger, tougher. I might have been faster, but I wasn't stronger and tougher than them. But what I found out is I was willing to do something they weren't willing to do. I was willing to take a shot in the nose when they wouldn't do that. Why does that today is so important? Because it's the exact same apparatus we're dealing with. Their so-called leaders are bullies, right? They have zero courage whatsoever. And when you stand up to them, especially in force, 2 or more together, they don't know what to do. And we've seen it over and over and over. They saw it in Orange County, California. They've seen it. They saw it in a school board in Arizona, a place in Michigan. We've seen it all the time. When we stand up with a singular message together, you only need 1/10 of 1%. 1/10 of 1%. That number sounds crazy, I know, but how many people are in the city of Medford right now? What's the population? Anybody have an idea? Just an estimate. 80, 90,000. Okay, let's call it 80,000. Let's go on low. So what is 1/10 of 10% of 80,000? It's 80. If you have 80 people going to a school board that wants to put in some pornography in a library for the kids, 80 people with a singular message. We can't be scattered. We can't be talking about 10 or 15 topics a day, which we tend to do. Singular message, they will cave every time. We've seen it over and over and over again. So it seems like we get overwhelmed, like we can't get enough people. But when we really break it down to the micro, and I say the micro fixes the macro, it's 1/10 of 1%. That's it. So what do we need to do? We need to get uncomfortable. What do I mean by getting uncomfortable? We need to go knock on doors with our message. Find your neighbors, right? Knock on doors. You're right here. Look at all these places right here. You would be so surprised how many people actually agree with you. They're on an island. And what happened is the 5%, the Marxists that are so loud, right, have shouted down people so much that the people with the same value set we have, they don't speak up anymore, right? So they're on an island. That's why when I was at DFW on a layover and I was wearing that shirt, right, in the airport, I was shocked. It was one person after. And by the way, those 6 people he's talking about, they were all completely separate. They didn't know each other. One after another appreciated the message that I had on my shirt. I'm not suggesting you buy our shirts. If you do, that's fantastic. But I am suggesting you find a message that you believe in and wear it on your shirt or on your hat almost daily. You will immediately find out you are not on the island that you think you're at. But now you have to be uncomfortable. You have to exchange phone numbers. And you can start networking, right? If you're very aggressive in a network marketing business, you'd be talking to everybody you possibly can about your product. I would suggest that your product and your service is taking back our country. And that's where we should focus on. Does anybody have any questions for me? Not that I might have a clue. In fact, I even sometimes do a show called Clueless Lewis. So, but if anything I can answer or help with, no topic is off limits. None right now. We can even talk about the alien stronghold under Medford, Oregon right now. No, I know nothing about that. I'm just playing. Anything? All right. Sure.
I keep seeing signs that Trump is our president and John F. Kennedy Jr. is our president.
Okay, she says, I'm talking to the audience online. Am I off camera, by the way? I'm a wanderer. Oh, they hate in the studio. They can't stand it because I'm like, and this camera right now, it has a robotic function where it follows me, but it's off right now. So you said you keep seeing signs that President Trump and JFK Jr. are president, vice president. Is that what you're saying? And when you say signs, are you visualizing? Or?
Like a video on Rumble or Telegram shows this massive flag coming up. It says Trump, JFK Jr.
Right. So here's what's interesting. I think there's some substance to this conversation, and there's some manipulation of the conversation because this is how people get clicks, right? So I did my first ever video film, I guess you would call it, is 2020 Vision. And it was built out of frustration. So I was watching a lot of great films by Fall of the Cabal by Janet Osborne. That's JFK Jr. right there, by the way.
We're supposed to jump on the train.
That's that one. That's right.
The Trump train's rolling through Medford.
Trump train. So the first film was 2020 Vision. And within that film, I actually believed I proved that JFK Jr. was still alive. Not because I proved that JFK Jr. was alive, but I proved unequivocally that his wife was still alive with facial recognition of people that we saw in audiences that did overlays, everything we can. It was undeniable. So that would be an indication to me that JFK Jr. was probably alive, or let's say didn't die in that manner in regards to that. So I think it's more than possible. I actually said that JFK Jr. is the keystone to the awakening, the emotional awakening. If he were to come out, everything would flip on its head immediately. So we'll see. I think we're thank you. I appreciate that. We're running out of time there. Is there any other questions or comments or any other conversations that we want to have? And we'll have a little bit to talk after we shut down here also. All right, cool. Well, firsthand, I appreciate your time. This is one of our shorter stops, but you all came out here in the chilly weather, but I think it's nice, and you guys are all awesome for being here. And let's just know that God's got this. You know what I mean? He really does. And the key is we have to ante up and kick in a little bit more to reap the harvest. That's really what it comes down to. Yes. Oh, I love this question. Got it. I'm gonna help you with that. Love this question, actually. I'll take the tinfoil hat off for this one. My favorite, I'll repeat it. Our online audience sees here. So my favorite thing is, she says, in the beginning, we heard just sit down, eat your popcorn. I say eat your popcorn and wear your froggy mask, right? And just everything, it's a movie, everything's going to be fine. And then she said, then there's a group that came out and said, get off your ass and do something. Okay. I believe I'm the leader of that second group, because I've been saying it for years. So the reason why is because, are there elements of this that are a movie and a show? Absolutely. But here's what I keep telling people, and this is where we struggle, because we've all been brainwashed over the last 1,000 years that it must be black or it must be white. There's no hue of colors in the middle. That's that Freemason 33-degree edict in order to convince us you have to be here, you have to be here. Why do they do that? Because that just shuts down your discernment immediately. The reality is it's probably somewhere in the middle. So I do believe there is a whole so-called white hat operation. I call them gray hats because they frustrate the hell out of me and they lie to us. We're part of their PSYOP also. So I call them gray hats. So there's a gray hat operation and there's obviously the black hat operation, right? Are there elements of it in a movie? There absolutely is. But those people that took what Q said, Q, everybody's familiar with Q and the drops, so on and so forth. They took what Q said when it said trust the plan, completely manipulated it. Because if you really go through this, and I've done a series with Ethan Lucas, right? When you really look at what Q said, the trust the plan was we the people. We the people are the plan. That's why he showed you a shirt that said we the people are the plan. I'm not saying that everybody that said sit down on your couch and eat your popcorn had ill intent, right? I am saying several did, and I know it for a fact. It was about them getting the clicks and getting paid. It's absolutely us anting up and kicking in. But again, two things can be true at the same time. We can have people working in the background. I know for sure. I got a report that on the West Coast, almost 1,000 kids by the Navy films, you know you can't trust CPS, right? So that's that back and forth battle that we're in. Are we in a war? Would you guys all, we're in a war, right? Okay, so we're going to win a battle, lose a battle, back and forth. That's the way it's going to go. There are absolutely elements, though, that are, I think, benevolent and doing great work in the background. I think it was horrible that they did this to us with the trust the plan thing, manipulation of it, because what all it did is it stalled the timeline until we take back our country. That's what it did. We were accountable. I hate to say this, people don't like us. We're accountable for where we are today, but we're also accountable to get out of this mess too. And exactly.
Manifest what you want to do, what you want your life to look like. Trust your gut, and it'll lead you, and say, Helen, get off your own plan.
Exactly. And she said she also heard that it said, trust your gut, trust your instinct. And manifestation is powerful. In fact, I can tell you there's a whole Christian group that's against me right now because I say you can manifest. I'm like, no, Christ manifested. Christ talks about manifestation, right? So if they're saying that, that means they're controlled opposition. And many of your churches, y'all, are controlled opposition. They're trying to push you down and prevent you from thinking on your own, right? As soon as we understand our connection is direct to our Creator, we've got it, right? So I hope that answered your question and helped. We're here to talk a little bit afterwards. I just want to say God bless you very, very much. And thank you for even coming out here today. These are, as Ruth says, and Andrew, you are the leaders, and you're the ones who are going to make the difference. And when history is written properly, because we know it hasn't been, when history is written properly, you will be in the annals of history forever. Thank you very much.
Is put some tape on the ground and say,